Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, The Shark, and Stryker. Today is our 118th episode, and we're discussing the 2023 Farming Life in Another World episode, The Researcher and the Two Princesses, for our theme month of Isekai Month. So, let's get things started.
I had to.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Yep. So, Matt, you were saying?
Grab your waifu pillows and your desu figures, because we're going full weeb mode, folks.
Exactly.
Give me a boo! Give me the two!
Nice. So, this is our first episode of Isekai Month for the month of May, where we will be discussing different Isekai for the entire month. So there's going to be 4 episodes of them, and this is the first episode. So we're talking about Farming Life in Another World, which began life as a manga in 2016 before getting an anime adaptation in 2022. The show is about a man, Hikaru, who dies in his late 30s and is reincarnated in a new world of magic and creatures where he can live a peaceful existence. And it's definitely a really fun and interesting time, let's say, We had a lot of fun watching it for this being one of the first ones we've done, and one of the first animes in general that we've done. We've done others before that, but this is the first time we're doing of the Isekai, and be very interesting, which we're going to get to right now. So, the episode itself begins with a recap of the previous week's episode. It shows that the Beastmen from Helen Village all moved there as they're greeted by Hikaru. Senna, the leader of the Beastmen, and one thing I want to point out is that unless we otherwise specify, all of these creatures are for the most part human with animal tails and ears, which kind of a shame, but that's the way Japan does things, unfortunately, for the most part. So what can you do?
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, they are not the Beastman from Brand New Animal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Michiru will be here.
Yeah, that would have been great if she was.
Or Beastar.
Yeah, that too.
Beastars was great too,
Or
but
the Beastars as
not
well.
not the topic of this episode.
Yep, unfortunately.
We'll get to that later.
Yep. Matthew, you're saying?
For those wondering, the way that Japan typically does anthro characters like this is the women characters will typically have the ears, tail, stuff like that, and the male characters will be the full furry ones, like they look like a werewolf or something like that. I don't know why they typically do that, but that's how it usually works. Here, all of them are just ears, tails, male or female.
I think it has to do with nekomimis, which are just cat girls.
Yep.
Yeah, that honestly sucks. And thankfully, there are some anime that don't always do this sort of thing. They don't submit to the nekomimi, which...
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, for this anime, it sadly falls into that trap, and it's great over there, but for us sheltered Westerners over here, it ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, it's a real shame that it does happen, but unfortunately, nothing we can do of it.
Yeah.
Basically,
it's their taste.
Yep. Basically, Senna, the leader of the Beastmen, and the others are afraid of being mistreated while they're there. Hikaru tells them if they need anything, they could talk to Ramurias, which is an Ani maid, basically. As Hikaru narrates, they were all afraid that they were going to be treated horribly. We see shots of them in a hot tub, eating rice balls, basically having a good time and the like. I guess this means that Hikaru put a sign up that said, we shall never deny a guest, even the most ridiculous request, and that next they want a room covered in cheese.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got it in early, folks.
We got it.
Yep, Math?
Yes. I feel like this is going to be a big part of my of what I'm doing for a bunch of these Isekai episodes, because I've watched all of the series that we're going to be talking in their entirety. It's pronounced Oni, Hiraku, and Howling Village.
Thank you so much. Like I say, unlike you, this is kind of my first time watching this, so yeah. Forgive me for any mispronunciations throughout this episode or throughout the month. I rewatched the episode today to try and get most of them, but hopefully I don't do too much of them. However,
it's understandable because a lot of people can't pronounce Japanese names.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So, yep. So Ramurias arrives and says that the beastmen are all enjoying themselves before noting that they faint quite easily. We then cut to them depicted in a chibi art style, which is done a lot throughout the show, and it's always fun when it does happen, as they all faint over seeing Zabuton the spider as well as the wolves. And like I say, we'll get to more of Zabuton later, but she is a good girl, let's put it that way.
The
Yeah.
best girl.
Definitely.
Also, the dog's name is Kuro. He and his mate were the first 2 residents to make it to the village, and honestly, Kuro is quite goated alongside Zabuton. Zabuton's my favorite, but there's something about Kuro. Like, he is both a doggo, yet he is exceedingly smart. He can actually beat freaking tons of people at mahjong and chess. He is that freaking.
Oh yeah.
He's that
Yeah.
freaking unhinged.
He beat Lulusi at chess, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Nice. So a shark, you were
Shark?
saying?
Honestly, the whole concept of the anime of the some guy arrives and starts making a village and people come, I will say this is the anime version of Animal Crossing, if there wasn't already an anime of Animal Crossing.
That
Oh,
is
yeah, that's
true,
right.
Yep. Basically, yeah. Unfortunately, there's no Anka here, nor Isabel, so...
Or
shame, but we
Margie.
can't have or
yeah.
Gracie, but we can't have everything. But we then cut to the opening, and one thing I do want to point out is that throughout this month, we're going to discuss all the openings and endings in detail. Usually we kind of just brush past them, but in this case, with these kind of shows, we kind of have to go a little bit more in depth than we usually do, but it's all good. So, basically, this intro lasts for roughly a minute and a half, and it's set to the song Flower Ring. That one thing that I have to say is that I guess years of watching Animutations online have pretty much hardwired my brain. This doesn't feel right. I have expected to see bouncing JPEGs of Colin Mockery and JJ the Jet Plane show up on the screen.
Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
basically, the opening begins with some shots of plant life before a raindrop falls in the sky. We then cut to the title card as it shows over a shot of the forest. We then cut to Hiraku as he arrives with his farming equipment and greets several of the residents there. We then see a group of other residents all around the giant tree as it's done in pretty much an interesting washed out style, and it kind of also serves as a bit of foreshadowing because these characters are all ones that would join the village later on in the series as a whole. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah. Also, about the farming tools, that is what is known as the almighty
farming tool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we are of like minds on that. It basically allows him to summon any and all farming tools and, to an extent, a spear to help defend himself, which was gifted to him by the same god that brought him back to life in this world.
Nice.
Who's
Matt, you were
simply
saying?
known as God.
Yep.
Interesting. Matt, you were saying?
Probably the most important part about this opening song is it's sung by the 2 lead voice actresses, the first 2 humanoid villagers that join the village.
Nice.
Lucy and Ray, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. The angel and the vampire.
Yep.
Ooh, huh. Nice. I did not know that. But yeah, basically what happens is what happens is the color palette then returns as Hiraku arrives at the tree before a raindrop stripes him, causing his eyes to widen. We then cut to a group of all the female villagers outside of his house, then inside as they're having a feast. We then cut to Rirushi running through a field and spinning, then to one of the other vampire maidens making the maid Anne smile and putting her lips on her cheeks and pulling them up to the latter's dismay, which definitely is a cute gag and also reminds me a little bit of like a Buster Keaton routine he did. So if that was intentional, that is really cool. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
It also reminds me of the freaking one still that I forget what it's called. I forget the band specifically, but they did freaking fan songs of the Amazing Digital Circus, and in one of those stills, Pomni's it shows Pomni with Kane's hands, freaking putting her mouth up into a smile, and it's honestly pretty hilarious. Also, all-female village. That is totally unintentional and not at all on purpose at Japan.
Yep, there's really not a genre in Japan that's specifically about a guy surrounded by a group of girls that starts with H. Not at all.
Nope, definitely not. Definitely not. But we then cut to all of them at a table, drinking and laughing. They all toast to Hiraku as we pan out of the house and we see it turn from night to day. The final shot of the opening is a still frame of Hiraku walking with both Rirushi and Tia. And then we get to the actual episode where, after the intro, we cut to 3 of the Beastmen children running around and playing with each other. One of the children trips, causing Senna to use her magic to levitate the child and make sure that he doesn't get hurt. Hiraku is amazed that Senna can also use magic, as he then turns to Tia and asks if he is the only one in the village who can't use magic. We then see all the various races use magic in their own ways, which culminates in a hilarious gag of Zabuton, the wolves, and even the bees being able to use fire magic. And it's not over yet, folks, because a slime rolls up and shows that it could breathe fire as well, with its derpy, walled-eyed expression. Just really got a good laugh out of me. Like, that is something that really, really just made me laugh at. This, like, goofy, like, blue blob thing rolls up and is like, I could do it too! And then it does it. So, I guess with all the fire in town, the red Pikmin would have a great time here.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I especially love how the Zabuton and Kuro do it as well, because like it's just the doggo breathing fire like a dragon, and the spider's just like lifting its arm and it too breathes fire, and it's honestly hilarious. But yeah, the slime just rolling up and doing that definitely is the cherry on top.
Absolutely hilarious, yeah.
Yeah,
Shark, you were saying?
that derpy slime and all of that definitely inspired by the Dragon Quest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see why.
Yeah, it's also
Amazing.
funny because like Hiraku is definitely trying not to show that he's a bit jealous that everyone else except for him can do magic. Where he's like, "Yay! Yay! You guys are doing great!" But to that I say, dude, you have a divine weapon that can grow native plants and fungi in this world, not to mention fruit. And also, it can transform into a spirit that can one-shot wyverns. So don't you freaking give me lip about that, young man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. So, basically, what happens next, though, is Senna tells him not to worry, as that there's others without magic. We then cut to the Beastmen children wanting to play with Hiraku, as he mentally notes that even they will be able to surpass him one day. However, we then cut to him picking apples, as he notes that he'll just stick to what he's able to do before an earthquake knocks him out of his stupor. Grand Maria, one of the angels, arrives and tells him that a bear and a giant viper are fighting in the forest. We then cut to the chibi art style again, which happens quite a lot in the show, as we see him ponder this with a cartoonish bear and a viper appearing. However, the earthquake happens again, as Hiraku is shocked that their fighting is enough to cause the ground to shake. Grand Maria tells him that if their fight continues, it could affect the entire village, but fighting them without a plan isn't wise either. Hiraku wonders what to do before finally saying his greatest question of all: can we eat them? And of course, yep, we then cut to Grand Maria carrying Hiraku, as he mentions how hunters eat bear meat and wonders what it tastes like, to which I can say only one thing. Man, I wish this show existed, except everything was the same, except that the talking flower from Mario Wonder was the main character instead.
Yep.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah. I wonder what bear and snake tastes like. Also, to a lesser extent, Louis.
Yeah, I
that's
was gonna
him.
mention that.
Yeah. Definitely like Louis from
Sorry.
Pikmin.
Yeah, just
He says a lot-
replace the giant bear with a bald bear.
Yes, that would be perfect then. That would be perfect. Go ahead, Matt.
At this point, considering how many isekai there are, I mean, we have an isekai where a person comes back in a fantasy world as a vending machine. I'm pretty sure someone is going to make this anime at some point.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. Well, I'd watch it if it happens. But Grand Maria then sees the two monsters as we cut to the giant bear and equally giant viper roaring at each other. And the viper's design basically just made me think that Arbok got a serious glow up here.
Yeah, that's mega Arbok.
Yep, definitely. Grand Maria says that they should go back, but Hiraku tells her to take him down as he has a plan. We then see a slicing motion, then dust rising from the forest, as it turns out that Hiraku killed both the monsters in one single blow. Which, this is definitely something that is interesting to see in a slice of life show. Like, can you imagine if Western slice of life shows did that? Hey, dog! There's a giant snake attacking the honker burger! You better stop it with your giant sword! Monk, monk. Hey, funny! You'll never stop the giant snake!
Nice.
Oh, snake meat is very expensive.
Yeah, or
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
or just imagine Gumball freaking taking on a giant horned cyclops thing and just chucks a rock on it and it immediately dies. And like problem solved and just walks home.
Yeah. That definitely would happen on that show. Let's be real. That definitely
Yes.
would.
Yeah,
We
he
then
definitely one shot a Kung Fu Master ramen cup with a frying pan doing that. So yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we then cut to the lizard men dragging the bear monster away as all of the angels are amazed over how he was able to take it down in a single blow. Hiraku notes how big they are as Anne wonders what he's going to do with the bear meat. We then cut to Hiraku cooking the bear meat to a low simmer and adding wine to the dish, much to the shock of all the women. He has to explain basically that cooking with wine is normal as he makes wine brace grappler bear, which he eats it and it turns out you think he's going to like it. Then he gets like a disgusted expression on his face, or at least trying his hardest not to spit it out, as it turns out that the bear meat is gamey, while the girls are still upset over him using wine. And apropos of nothing, but the background music in this section sounds eerily like the overworld music of Super Mario Bros. 2, which means that obviously he was reincarnated in Subcon, and yet there is no Birdo.
Sadly.
Damn it.
Such a shame, such a shame.
Anyways,
Classic.
yeah, no, the whole sequence, like, oh, this is when I thought of something. Oh, they kill a giant monster, they cook it, we get a sequence where they are preparing it. We can get a whole view of the finished dish. And now like I think is, oh hey, we're in Delicious and Dungeons again.
Yeah,
Yep.
basically,
We're also in
yeah.
Monster Hunter.
That
Should
too,
have
that
opened
too.
Tenchi to make them meat then.
Yeah.
Basically,
Also,
yeah.
the frickin' anime females are just obsessing over frickin' the alcohol because like they've rarely ever had stuff like that, and they're just seeing him using it in cooking. They're like, "Our delicious alcohol," and we're like, "Bruh, take a chill pill."
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, basically what happens though is that it turns out he also fried the viper when he ends up eating it with both him and the woman, noting that it tastes like fried chicken. Raku then notes that something is missing on his plate. Unfortunately, it is not chili coral bits. It turns out to be something else. We then cut to him at Flora, who is a vampire, at her lab, and he asks her for an antibacterial agent. He says that he needs it in order to use a new recipe, and that he needs something that can kill harmful microorganisms. We then cut to the chibi art style to see Flora peering fearfully at a harmful microorganism that really looks a lot like Kirby in a way. It has like very much a Kirby vibe to it. But wait, I'm sorry, it's yellow, so it's not Kirby, it's Kibi.
Nice.
Yeah, had to bring that. But anyway, Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, she was just checking up on some subspecies. I'll show you subspecies.
Plankton would absolutely be a maniac in this place. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, we need an isekai where it's talking flower, and we also need one where it's plankton, because that would be
Yes.
something else.
Just plankton.
Yeah,
just
also
plankton, no one else.
Yeah. Also,
Go
the microorganism kind of reminds me a little bit of freaking the art style of Smile World, the spell card from Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's kind of 1-to-1 if you think about it. But it also reminds me of the heart from Yoshi's story a little bit.
I can kind of see that, huh? But we got Tones was there. Hiraku then notes that he wants something that can prevent stomach aches or illnesses. Flora gives him a pink potion that can blow anything to the other side of the mountain, as he asks if she has anything less harmful. She gives him another vial that is safe for foods, as we get a little chibi version of him, asking how her miso production is, causing her face to fall. She notes that she tried doing it exactly as how he said, as he continued the chibi style. She waits and there's no fermentation. Then when she uses the pink potion, it causes her house to blow up 3 times, and then we get a JoJo reference because it has the to be continued logo at the end of the sequence, which that got a big laugh out of me. I'm sorry, I was not expecting that, you know?
Yeah.
I was
Also,
I was
also-
expecting to hear Roundabout when that happened.
yeah,
gonna-
same. Also, freaking her exploding things. I could only think of this. One crossbar, one hint of potassium nitrate, one errant twitch, and kaplooey!
Ah,
It's
nice.
basically the demo man.
Nice. Perfect. Matt,
Math.
you were saying?
For all of my anime watching brethren out there, I must ask: is that a motherfucking JoJo?
Yeah.
Was waiting for it. Was waiting for someone to say that.
What he does.
Yeah.
And with part 7 coming up, we are gonna have a reason to talk about JoJo.
Ooh, that'll be interesting when we get to that. But basically, back to this. Hiraku tells her that they could try again, as she says that she won't use any explosives, and he begs her not to do it with please don't, which is a hilarious gag. But we then cut to him cooking eggs using a mixture of salt and apple vinegar to make mayonnaise. So obviously, that one fish from Bikini Bottom is going to be really happy because now he can gargle it with his double fried Krabby Patty served on a stick.
Yeah. Or it can
Hey.
conversely stop plankton in its tracks by blowing up his tank.
Eh,
That too.
Or Patrick
yeah.
can use it as an instrument,
That too.
even though it's not.
Yep. Matt, you were saying?
So I'm watching an isekai about a guy who goes to another world and just wants to have a farming life. I did not expect the very detailed, accurate tutorial of how to make mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was not expecting that because I had never even heard of this show, believe it or not, before I watched it for this podcast, and that was definitely interesting, seeing like a shot-by-shot thing on how to make mayonnaise, and who knows, maybe the recipe is good, maybe I'll try it sometime. Of course,
Yeah.
Flora is eating the mayonnaise literally straight up as he knows that it's bad for her health, and then we cut to them making the miso, which we also get instructions on how to make miso, because he shows her that they have to simmer the soybeans, then they grind them into a paste. He then pulls out a wooden spoon as a cut to a chibi version of them. He beats the paste down while saying moldy, moldy over again, then tells her that you don't have to write that down while she's doing so. They then mix the mold with the salt to create miso balls. Flora says that it didn't work because she didn't say moldy, moldy, as Hiraku doesn't know what to say about that, and a pretty good joke. They then put the miso balls in the cellar, with him knowing that it'll take a few months for them to age, and that when it does so, they'll taste good. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
yeah, I was gonna say, well, at the very least they didn't say Lord Moldybot, otherwise the whole village will get destroyed.
Yeah.
That too.
Also, other shows would do something similar, like discussing the in-depth intricacies of the stuff they're making. The biggest example of this, and honestly the best example I feel, is Dr. Stone, which, man, if you weren't a science buff before, how they do science in that show will blow your freaking mind.
Definitely sounds interesting, yep. But what happens is basically Flora notes how cooking is a lot like research before Rue shows up, saying that they have visitors. The visitors turn out to be dwarves, led by one named Donovan. And, ladies and gentlemen, cue the Gimli jokes, because we're going to
Right.
make several of them. Let's put it that way.
Starting off with, nobody tosses a dwarf.
Yep. Well, there's a couple more accurate ones in a little bit. But Donovan then says that the dwarves are there because they've heard that there's alcohol in the village and they want to sample some. The women say that their wine is valuable and they don't just want to give it away. Donovan notes that they don't have money, but they do have something better. To quote Patrick Starr, "We have technology."
Yeah, I thought of that as well when seeing this scene.
Yeah, basically. Go ahead, Matt.
A small correction from this. They are elder dwarves, and I'm going to quote Hiraku here. What's the difference?
That was a
Yeah.
good line. Sorry for
Also
skipping
gonna-
over.
I'm also going to
That's
quote Timon here. There's a difference.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Classic. But basically, what happens, though, is that Donovan says that the dwarfs have spent a long time with alcohol production, and they could use the village crops to make them some. By using their grain and their corn, the dwarves show villagers how to make corn whiskey by distilling it. Hiraku notes that the whiskey is clear, as Donovan explains that whiskey gets its color from aging it in barrels. Hiraku takes a drink and grimaces at the taste, causing the dwarves to laugh at his low tolerance of alcohol. We then get more narration from Hiraku, as he says the dwarves stayed in the village and worked as their brewers for a time. And we then cut to them all having a party for the beastmen and the dwarves, with everyone drinking and enjoying the mayonnaise, to which probably the dwarves there saying, like, oh man, this is a way better party than that guy Bilbo Baggins. That guy was a stick in the mud.
Wow. Also, I have the best joke for referencing a whole bunch of corn. Rain makes corn, corn makes whiskey, whiskey makes
Nice.
my brownie baby feel a little frisky. Had to make that joke. Anyways,
Yep.
Math?
My favorite part of the dwarves being introduced and coming into the village is that the rest of the villagers were like, we only have so much wine. We don't want to share it with these guys. Hey, we can make wine. You are our new favorite villagers now.
Yeah. That is so classic. That is funny as hell.
Wouldn't be a fantasy series without the people loving a drink.
Hey,
Yep.
you can't blame them. You can't blame them, especially in that time period that they're in. But Drime, the Dragon Lord, who is not Ember, who is also the Dragon Lord, because if she was here, would have been a very, very different show. Let's put it that way. But Drime gets a little bit too much drunk, and he has to be dragged and tied up by Gucci, his butler. The girls note that Drime drinks all of their alcohol as he's dragged away, while he takes like a couple of shots, he runs up, like babbles how he's the Dragon Lord, then falls asleep and is dragged off. Like, that is funny, and they do more with his character later that is very, very interesting. But
he was actually about to strip, so
okay. Definitely something else. But Donovan then thanks Hiraku for his hospitality, as Hiraku notes that there is another adult man in the village, finally, asking Donovan if any of the women catch his eye. Donovan, however, says that they look nice, but they're all too young for him and don't even have beards, as we see an ideal dwarf woman, which pretty much just sums up Gimli's quote about dwarf women. It's true you don't see too many dwarf women, and the women look so close to the men, they are often mistaken for each other, which leads to the belief that there are no dwarf women, and dwarves spring out of the ground fully clothed, which is, of course, ridiculous.
I love that.
Yeah, great, so great. We then get a little eye catch of Cena howling at the moon with the other wolves, and a pretty funny moment there. Go ahead, Angron.
That moment. Yeah. Also, last Gimli joke of that moment. I would not fight with an elf. Would you fight with a friend? Aye.
Nice. That's a good one. But basically, after this, we then cut back to Hiraku working before he sees a dragoness fly by. This dragoness has a pretty cool design with blue scales, red horn, and what appears to be blonde hair on the top of it. And I will say this, we don't see the dragon forms too much, so we're probably going to be talking a bit less about them than we usually would, but they still look really, really good. Like the actual creature designs, they're unique in a way that is different from other isekai, but at the same time, they have a real reality to them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I will say that lastimun's dragon design here, it's pretty neat. I like it. I like the bipedal. I like the whole bipedal look that she's got going on. She's like up straight, but she also hunches down, and the blonde hair certainly helps. But this, I don't know. There's something about it that's holding it back. Like, I mean, the human design I can live with, I guess. It's not too bad. It does the whole Nekomimi thing, and it's not the best. But I will say that, when the dragon design is on screen, it kind of makes it a little better. I like the eyes that she has. They're like pure purple, no pupils. And it looks like she's got a face to kill, and that's pretty intimidating for those who find it so. I just think it's pretty neat. But yeah, that's just me.
Yep. But, of course, what happens, Hiraku pulls out a spear, getting ready to strike at the dragon, before he sees Drime show up next to it. He wonders if they're fighting as they're really just staring each other down. However, another dragoness appears. This one is a white scale dragoness with a black tipped tail and black curved horns as well. And like I say, I think this dragoness has a better design than the first one we talked about, but we'll get to more of that in a little bit because the Dragoness Scale this episode might be very different than what we're usually used to, let's say it that way.
Yep.
But for the now, Hiraku throws his spear at the white dragoness as she just barely avoids it. He then pulls out another spear as Gucci arrives, telling him that the other two dragons are not an enemy to the village at all. We then cut to Gucci apologizing as Drime and the other two dragonesses are now in their human forms, which are very interesting because while Drime and the dragoness, who we'll talk about in a little bit, the older dragoness, have like fully human forms, the younger dragoness, which we'll get to her name in a second, she has kind of like a dragon half thing going on, kind of like Mink, which again ties into my Animutation reference because Mink appeared in a lot of Animutations as the gif of her dancing in the end credits. So we went full circle there, people.
Yep.
But yeah, Gucci then notices that the dragonesses are the wife of and daughter of Drime, respectfully. The white dragoness is the wife. Her name is Graffalun, and as we mentioned, she is a full human. The daughter, who was the darker dragoness, is named lastimun. And like I say, I like that she has the horn and tail combo. It really does make her cute. And honestly, I really wish Graffalun had the same design. I guess the reason she doesn't have it is because it's supposed to show that Graffalun is older and therefore can handle her human form compared to her dragoness form more. But I don't know. I would have liked at least a little visual representation to make them look and feel a little bit more like dragons. This show isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, and I really enjoyed this. But if I have one little nitpick, it has to be that.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, to be fair, Graffalun's dragon design makes up for the fact that her human design looks kind of tame, even though I personally like it. But yeah, that definitely feels a little rough having having the adults be a little less draconic than the young ones. It does make sense. It does ultimately track that the adults would be able to handle transformation magic better than the children because, hey, let's be fair, they've had years to master this skill, so it wouldn't necessarily make sense for the most part that their horns or tail would be showing like their child would. Then again, if a less experienced dragon had that happen, that would make a little more sense as well. But yeah, I personally don't find this too bad, but I definitely agree. Shark?
Yeah. You go ahead, Shark.
Well, that thing that the young ones can't quote unquote hide their dragon parts pretty well. Well, I don't know if this is confirmed or not. I guess Matt can confirm this, but it implies that their dragon forms are their real forms.
Yes. Their dragon forms are their real forms.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. So it's a shame that we don't get to see more of their dragon forms then, but then again, Japan, what can you do? But, however, after introducing each other, Hiraku asks Drime why they are there. It turns out that Drime consistently snuck out of his castle to go to the village, causing his wife and daughter to get suspicious. In this little flashback, which is kind of done in the chibi form of the original, lastimun does a little tail wiggle when she's upset, and that is just adorable. I really love it. It's such a cute little moment there.
I love
Graffalun, meanwhile, is so enraged as he manages to tear off a piece of the wall in anger. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Angron.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, it's okay.
I didn't post anything.
Okay. No, it's all good. The two note they didn't know what to think with him leaving every night as we see what they thought it was, which is a chibi version of Drime laughing while being surrounded by two other dragon women, making it seem like he was cheating on her with the two dragonesses, which shame we didn't get more dragonesses because those two have a cute design and for them to appear for literally like 2 seconds is kind of a shame. However, go ahead, sorry.
I also like their character. They're just like one moment they're all like, "What's wrong with you?" and Graffalun's just like, "I will end you." And then the next moment they're like, "Oh, that's okay. Oh, thank goodness." Also, if he wasn't married, I would definitely say that Dime is living the frickin' dream with a dragon horde like he has.
Yeah, definitely.
Dragon harem.
However, Drime says the accusation is ridiculous, but his wife and daughter note that he kept taking things from the treasury and not returning till morning. Hiraku notes in narration that the treasury stealing was actually gifts for the village, and Hiraku built Drime a house so he wouldn't have to fly home drunk. And however, Drime then says that it was all for diplomatic relationships, but neither of them believe him. Graffalun says that her suspicions are still being confirmed, while her eye slowly twitches as it zooms in on her with a purple background and frightening music, which basically her eye twitching is probably the second scariest bit of eye twitching since Inspector Dreyfus from the Pink Panther movies. And that's an obscure reference for the week, people. Go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, I think something that could have been cool in that shot is when her eye twitches, it starts to becoming like a slit pupil, like a reptilian eye or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely was a missed opportunity right there. I'm surprised they didn't go with that. Anyway, what happens is basically Hiraku notes that she's scary as Drime yells at them, saying that he would never do such a thing to them, and he doesn't have the courage to have an affair with someone else. We then see a Shibi forming the two Dragonesses as they accept his apology. Hiraku apologizes to them, but Drime demands that they apologize to him as well. lastimun apologizes for trying to burn the village down because they thought my dad had an affair, while graffalun apologizes for almost obliterating the insolent man who pointed a spear at my daughter, with Hiraku of noticing that they're scary again, and a pretty good joke. Drime, meanwhile, is happy that everything is settled before Graffalun and lastimun say that he should not go out drinking that much. Hiraku is pleased they're getting along and then leaves, and here is something that really piqued my interest with this episode as a whole, basically, in that as soon as Hiraku leaves, Drime's demeanor instantly changes. He gets serious, and he tells the two of them that keeping a good relationship with the village is of the utmost importance. Graffalun also notes that, despite their lack of numbers, the village still maintains the power to challenge the dragons, and she thought that they'd never meet anyone that could overwhelm them. lastimun notes that her mother could not defend herself against that attack that Hiraku threw at her. And, like I say, I do like how they did Drime's character here. You think like, oh, he's the goofy drunk guy, or, oh, he's the goofy, like, father type. But no, they subverted it, and I give them all the credit for that. But now we get to the single-handed best moment of the episode, because it turns out that the reason Graffalun survived the spear throw that Hiraku did was because of none other than little Zabuton, as it cut to a chibi scene of the small spider holding up the Dragoness with a fishing pole, then happily turning towards the camera and waving at it, which this right here is the peak of the episode. Like, right here, they could have said, to be continued right after it, and that would have been the perfect place to end it, because you improve on that. I mean, we do get another really good moment with Graffalun, or later on, or rather, lastimun, rather, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but man, that is just so adorable, and the chibi version of the full Dragoness Graffalun looks great as well, and really wants me to see more of it, but, well.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, Zabuton is easily best character in this entire series. Also, she lived our dream. She got to go dragon fishing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, good lordy, like, Zabuton is goated. I love Kuro to death and back, but there's something about Zabuton that absolutely screams doing more with less. And moments like these are 100% why. Like, just the act of Zabuton freaking using a stick and a bit of her web to fish a dragon out of the way of Hiraku's spear, and then just at the end being like, yep, raising a hand. It's like, good lordy. Like, every time Zabuton does that, all I can think of is, like, she has the mindset of Fred Burger. Like, she raises her arms and all I hear is, yep. And the other half, she's just like knitting stuff, and all I can hear is like Fred Burger, Fred Burger, Fred Burger, Fred Burger.
Amazing! Wow.
Yes.
But yeah, getting back to this, Graffalun mentions that if she wasn't pulled out of the way, she might not be there. She then instructs Lastimun to live in the village as Drime asks why. Graffalun tells him to be quiet, and then tells Lastimun that she is to stay there in order to monitor the power of the village and to make sure that it is never turned against them. We then get another zoom-in shot of Graffalun while she says this, making her seem very imposing, and I do have to say this. She is the intimidating mother type that Nicole Watterson would be very proud of.
Yeah.
I very easily could see Nicole doing this, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
However, Lastimun nervously says yes as Drime asks if it was a wise decision. Graffalun says that it'll lead to a good outcome for all of them. Oh, go ahead, Math.
I've always loved how Japan very often does the mother is the scariest person in the room trope, largely because the creators of these shows probably grew up with a mother exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah. So what happens is, of course, after seeing that, we then cut to the village where Hiraku says that he doesn't mind at all if she stays. Lastimun nervously says about how she's looking forward to living there, with her stilted delivery being very, very funny. And I watched the dub version of this, so please do not put away your torches and pitchforks, please, because yeah. But I will say this: this is one of the better anime dubs I have to say because it really was a well-made one. Because all the voices fit the characters really well. There was no lip sync problem, and I don't know, it just feels really, really well made. They didn't have the dub voice actors in the credits, unfortunately, so I couldn't tell who voiced who. But whoever voiced Lastimun, she definitely was the standout of the cast, at least for me, you know.
Yeah.
But basically, what happens is she asks for him to call her Lasty, and then asks what he wants her to do. We then get some more information from Hiraku, as Senna notes that she is a dragon creature. However, because Lastimun is a dragoness, she ends up being a bit too strong for her own good. She tries to pick tomatoes, but she squashes them easily in her hands, therefore stopping the attack of the killer tomatoes, so we should give her a medal for that. She then washes the dishes, but she smashes all of them while doing it, and we get more of her little tail wiggling, which again is adorable there. Hiraku mentions how dragons are truly extraordinary creatures, as we then cut to Lastimun picking a series of apples gently and is really proud of her work. However, she then suddenly sneezes and causes a gigantic explosion to happen. In a chibi shot, we see that the apples have turned all to ash, including the apple trees, while Lastimun is upset. And obviously, this is why Ember never tried to work at Sweet Apple Acres.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, had to bring that up. Go ahead, Angron.
Also, funny thing, I really enjoy this character, so I am gonna have to be a Debbie Downer when I say this. Replace the A in her name with U and the I with a Y, and I think you pretty much get a very different name if you catch my drift.
Okay, well then. But we then cut to Lastimun playing with a Beastman child. Hiraku wonders what to do with her as Tia tells him not to make her do something that she can't do. Hiraku notes that Drime wants his daughter to do some work in the town before noticing that the wolves are afraid of her. Tia notes that all of the animals are afraid, including the chicken and the cows who refuse to make milk and eggs for them. We then get probably the second funniest cutaway after, of course, Zabuton playing Fisherman, and that's a chibi shot of a drunk Drime drooling, with Hiraku claiming that since Drime asked like that, he didn't realize that most people are actually afraid of dragons because Drime is not intimidating at all. And the shot of him is just like drooling, completely hammered, and the voice acting is so good too. The dub is like, oh, it's like that. That's what Drime sounds like, and it is so funny.
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt.
What even further sells it, and this is why I love when these cutaway gags do small stuff like this. So when Hiraku says, Drime acts like that, and it does the cutaway to him, there's kanji on the side of it as well that just says, that, showing the image of him being the drooling drunk.
Yeah.
Right, so I forgot to mention that, but yeah, that's a good moment right there, too.
Also, protect the cows. Protect the milk. And the beef.
That too. However, Tia then says that dragons aren't just powerful, but they're also wise and knowledgeable as well. This gives Hiraku an idea, and we then cut to Beezle, who it turns out to be the ambassador of the Demon King, as he's shocked to see a dragoness there. It turns out that Lastimun's new job is to be the new diplomat of the village, as Beezle is still shocked to see her. She says that, like with Hikaru before her, he could call her Lasty, as she asks what he has come to request. And this moment here is a really cute one because, like I say, it really shows some character development for Lastimun, how she gets more confident, and that really is adorable.
Yeah.
However,
Also,
go ahead, sorry.
yeah. Also, it's just freaking him. Like all the world knows to be wary of the dragons, and yet this guy right here is currently playing ambassador and ambassador. What's it? To one of the most feared dragons in all the realm. Like all she's doing is basically discussing business with this guy. Like she's just standing there like, oh hey, you wanted to get this and this, right? And he's just like, I think I paid a little.
Nice.
I love
yeah,
moments like that.
Same. I
Yeah,
also
imagine if it
love
was
like
Nubea.
yeah, that would have been
Yeah,
something to see.
Yeah.
Or Rennie.
That too, or her. She would also be an adorable dragoness here. However, Beezle then asks for that bright-colored fruit we got last time, as she realizes that he means oranges. She then says that their orange stock is low, but they have plenty of strawberries, then suggests lots of other fruit for him to buy. While she's doing this, we see close-ups on her horn, her sharp teeth, and her wiggling tail, as Beezle is just stunned and actually kind of scared of the sight of her, which is really, really funny. When you see how frightened he is of what appears to be like a teenager, you know?
Yeah.
But he ends up buying a large amount of various kinds of fruit, and as he takes stock of his inventory, Lastimun asks if he wants to count them, as Beezle nervously says no. Lastimun is proud of herself, as Hiraku is happy that she's finally gotten the hang of this. We then cut to the Demon King's castle, where the Demon King is shocked that they have dragons now, and honestly, I cannot believe this is the first thing I thought of. When I saw the shot of the castle for the first time, something about it made me think of Kirby right back at you with DDD's castle. I have expected... If only he was in this show, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
You telling me they got dragons in that village? Oh, but sire, you don't tell me anything, you stupid slug, you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to make a joke. Well, we do have some dragon repellent, King DDD.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, just all I could think of when I heard them say that was like, they have dragons now. They have dragons now.
Alternately, I can hear Squidward screaming, "There's dragons now!"
Perfect. That is great right there. But, however, Beezle says that their military might grows every day, while one of the generals suggests sending a spy. I just wanted to point out that the Demon King is not there. It's actually his generals, so apologies for getting that wrong.
All good.
Another advisor notes that if they're caught, it'll be considered an official act of aggression. Beezle says that he has a plan as we cut to the following day at Beezle's mansion. Beezle's daughter, Frau Rem, arrives as Beezle wants her to investigate the village and their military might. He tells her to be careful and not be rash, saying that safety should be her number one concern. Frau Rem says that she is confident in her magic and tells him not to worry about herself. We then cut to her levitating before the village, and she notes that it seems ordinary and peaceful, then wonders how it was developed with all of the monsters there, and we cut to a shot of two very, very demonic-looking rabbits there, although they are not half as demonic as Angel Bunny from Friendship is Magic.
Or Math Pet.
Right?
That too. Nice. However, we then cut to Frau Rem being greeted by Lastimun, as Frau Rem remembers her as a terrifying dragon, and we then get another shot of Lastimun as a full dragoness, which really shows to how it contrasts with her sweet little human form greatly, and it's a really, really good gag there. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, as much as I riff on the Nekomimi stuff, moments like this definitely help bolster it a bit. Like, you get giant, powerful, dangerous creatures on the one hand, but then you get moments like this on the other that make her character stand out a bit more, even though, like, at base she's basically a dragon. And moments like, and yeah, well, I still consider Graffalun the better of the bunch. I definitely like what they do with lastimun here.
Easily. Matthew, you were saying?
What I love is it's these small, subtle things, because Hiraku isn't doing this intentionally, but what he's doing is he has the walking natural disaster on wings as the tour guide. If that's not a power play, I don't know what is.
To be fair, he also has dangerous demonic firehound and a giant freaking spider as essentially house pets and pest control. So you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, lastimun then shows Fararem the vineyards in that, and I also like the moment of her noticing Fararem standing there in fear and asking if she's all right. But we then get a hilarious cutaway of a Shibi lastimun roaring, and when I say roaring, she's not actually making dragoness like roars. It's actually the voice actors going roar, 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 roar over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just so adorable and so funny at the same time that is Fararem's vision of her. However, she then wonders why she is living in a place like this and is busy bragging about the crops rather than anything else. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, that chibi roar is easily my favorite part of the episode. That was just so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, easily. I could definitely see why, because it probably is her best moment that isn't related like to the earlier part of the episode. Let's say it that way. But however, lastimun is then interrupted by an angel arriving, telling her that a message from Howling Village has arrived. As she goes off to see what's going on, Fararem takes the time to look at the various races of the village. She says that all of them will be difficult to deal with, but they can deal with them due to their military might. However, Fararem then looks to the main house, thinking it's a headquarters where she sees Rirushi, then outside when she sees Tia. She's wondering why they are there together. Then she notes the High Elves, notes how dangerous they are, that they're basically like man-eaters, and that their army cannot defeat the army that is built up in the village. She then sees Zabuton and the wolves, and is amazed that they have them and that they formed a pact together. And what makes it so funny, it's not so much just her shocked voice, it's the facial expressions. The way they just get increasingly elaborately shocked and horrified is really, really funny, you know?
Yeah.
Like I say, I really was just surprised, and I was actually surprised how funny this show was as a whole in general, to be honest. But this is really well written. Like I say, I really, really enjoyed this. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, this show 100% is one of those slice of life that does so much with what little it has. Like, you got freaking demons, vampires, ogres, lizard folk, and they're all in this one spot in the middle of a dangerously, notoriously evil forest. But this guy right here who just comes back and cultivates is just like, oh, I'm just doing my job. Like, it's just a normal 9 to 5 for him, and like, he has a whole powerhouse crew with him, and all I can think of, like, hey neighbor, hey man, it's one of those things I absolutely can get behind, and I find it 100% believable.
Yeah, I definitely could see that because, man, it is great. It is a great moment right there.
Yes.
But basically, what happens though is that she's losing confidence in herself, seeing all the powerful races working together in the village. She then pulls out a chart, which I have to note two things. Number one of the little drawings on the chart kind of looks like one of the Fall Guys. I know it's probably supposed to be Zabuton, but to me it looks a lot like a Fall Guy, which definitely would have also been an interesting crossover. And number two, she notes that whoever rules over them is called the mayor. Obviously, it can only be one man, and that is a man who wants his pickle jar open.
Yeah.
I had to mention that. Why were you all laughing?
Yeah.
But anyway, Shark, you were saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, if there really is a fall guy in the village, he should stay away from the slimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although they are small enough to where you can't drown in it, so there is that.
Yeah. Also, must bow. This dragon dares set foot on my. Frick. I had a very good one, but I kind of stumbled.
Oh, it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all right. It happens to all of us. But basically, what happens next, of course, is that she wonders what terrifying creature the mayor could be as Hiraku passes by. She pays him little mind, claiming that he's only a human and she doesn't need his help, but she then wonders why a human is living here to begin with. Hiraku asks if she's okay as she leaves in a huff, claiming she doesn't need a human's help. We then cut to the house, where lastimun tells her that Hiraku is the mayor, much to her shock. She then adds that he's a human strong enough to defeat even her mother, as Farrim realizes that she was rude to him and, of course, is nervous about how he might retaliate to that. The episode ends with the two of them working in the fields together, as Hiraku narrates that Farrim is Beezel's daughter, and that he's surprised that she's going to be staying with them for a while. When Hiraku greets them, we cut back to the Shibi forums as, in another hilarious callback, Farrim nervously says, "Hello, it's a nice day today," in a very similar way that lastimun did earlier in the episode, which really got a good laugh out of me how they called back to it like that. And Hiraku basically notes that this is something that lasted for quite a while, at least until Farrim got used to living in the village.
Yep.
Yep. But that's the end of the episode, but it is not the end of our discussion of it, because we then get to the ending animation of the episode, which sits to the song called Feel the Winds. This is done in also the Shibi art style for all of it, and it begins with all of the girls basically dancing before going down to the village. Hiraku is tending to his crops before finding it difficult to move the vegetables. Rirushi and one of the wolves helps him move it, as it cut to inside where he's cooking a meal, then later to where he's carving a wooden cup. He then falls asleep as Tia and Ria are watching over him. We then see all of the girls holding a yellow tulip as it passes from one of them to the next one, and in a pretty cute moment, we even see lastimun and Farrim holding them, which makes me wonder, do they change this for every episode?
Probably.
Math,
Some
go ahead.
anime do stuff like this where, like, as the series goes along, things slightly change.
Yeah.
Interesting. Math, you were saying?
Yeah, every time a new person or group comes in, if it's a group, it's the head of that group. Otherwise, if it's a person, they just add that person. The reason it's lastimun and Flowrem in this one is because both of them were introduced in the same episode. So they do change it up about 6-7 times through the course of the anime.
Interesting. I like that they do that. That is something that really is a neat thing, and kind of a shame Western shows don't do that more, but oh well. But Hiraku then, basically we then cut to a basket full of tulips as Hiraku then holds him up before we cut to the night outside of the house, where it pans up to see Drime flying through the sky before we finish on the pair of moons that this strange new another world has. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the episode as a whole. Farming Life lasted for one season, and it doesn't seem like they're getting another one, but I haven't heard anything about it. The manga, meanwhile, is still ongoing, which is pretty interesting there. And hopefully they'll do another season, because after watching this episode, I definitely would not mind seeing more of this world in general, because I really enjoyed this. And that actually makes me kind of happy we're doing Isekai Month, because I want to see how it's going to stack up to the other anime, which in turn might lead to the final question of the week, but no hints there. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the show.
Excuse me, sorry.
It's one of the, I definitely enjoy the show. It's one of those anime that it's slice of life, and you don't have to follow it too closely to get the context. There is a little bit you might need to follow, but it's honestly like you can easily get caught up with just like one episode watch, and you could lose no freaking progress because of that. It's very adorable, and I 100% want to see a second season of this because they built it up. They're like, people are getting ready for it, and I definitely want to see that happen.
Yeah, I definitely can see why. You know, it really, really is a great show, and as a whole, I just love the world building of it because it feels real, and if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It really feels like it's so fleshed out and it's so well made that it really, really looks great. And I have to say that, I really enjoyed it for that reason. But now it's time for the question of the week, which is what is your favorite slice of life shows? Now, this doesn't have to be just anime, which also probably ties into the question of the week for Isekai Month, that they're really not going to be anime questions for the most part. They're going to be just like general questions as a whole, because they're going to be more interesting that way. So, I'll go first. Now, my first slice of life show, I have a lot of options because I was one of maybe the 17 people who actually liked the show Doug, which hence my impression
Yeah.
earlier.
Mhm.
There's also some other really good ones like Hey Arnold. That was a great, great show, especially Grandpa Phil, who was absolutely hysterical. I don't want an egg cream. I want my big old sack of money. Your egg cream, Mr. Redman. Classic. But I'm going to go with one that does not get a lot of discussion nowadays. And it's strange because this show was kind of big when it came out. And that's going to be The Weekenders. This is a show done by Disney in like the early to, I think, mid 2000s. And it was about four friends, Tito, Carter, Lore, and Tish, as they all basically go about their lives as like middle schoolers and basically have all kinds of like adventures and that. And it was really like slice of life. And one part that always was such a cool thing is they would hang out at this pizza place. Every single episode, the pizza place would be different. Like one week it would be astronaut pizza. The next week it would be alpine pizza. The next week it would be like postal pizza. Every single week it was a different pizza place theme that they would go to. And they even actually mentioned this in the show itself because there's one episode that they go there and that they're actually remodeling it, and the pizza shop owner suggests like, oh, what do you think of this suggestion for the pizza place next week? Which definitely is a good gag, and that was probably the moment that most people remember of it. But man, that was a fun show. It was a fun show. Really cool animation style, art style with the kind of far apart eyes on the human faces, and it was really, really cute. Like I say, it was a show that it definitely wasn't like the best show out there, but it was one that I remember watching a lot, and it's probably not even my favorite. I probably like Doug or Hey Arnold more, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because no one remembers it except for the pizza place joke. That's like the one part of the show that really stuck in popular imagination was the pizza place joke. But aside from that, it was a good show, great voice cast and everything, and yeah, I can definitely see why. Oh, Math, you were gonna say?
It's no shock to me that you like the Weekenders so much because this is the same guy that did Buzz Lightyear Star Command and Dave the Barbarian.
Huh.
Well
Nice.
then, okay,
That makes
I
a
did
lot
not
of
know
sense.
that. That is awesome. That I'm gonna watch the show. I'm probably gonna go and watch some episodes maybe later this week or that, and that is definitely gonna make me reconsider everything about it because wow, that is awesome right there.
You can
Nice.
see
So the
his
guy
humor from Dave in this.
easily, it's very, very similar in that. And if memory serves, I think they referenced the Weekenders and Dave the Barbarian somehow. I can't remember how, but I do remember them referencing it somehow. But regardless, yeah, that's gonna be my choice. The Weekenders, which is a great, great show. Oh man, Recess, that could have been another good one, but I'll let someone else
Yeah.
pick that. So that's not even my choice. Is Weekenders. So Angron, what would your pick be?
Whew, that is going to be a tough one because on the one hand, we got stuff like Gumball, which is definitely slice of life, but in the same way South Park is slice of life. Eventually, it gets to a point where they involve context, and context kind of makes things a little bit of a slog. Not too much. I still enjoy them, but you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Conversely, however, you get shows like Housebroken for the most part that also are slice of life episodes. You get It's Pony, you get Jellystone, technically. Uh, you get Johnny Bravo for the most part, which focuses on one character, but it's one of those things that are still funny. However, the one I'm gonna pick is may or may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is definitely a 100% a 100% comfort food pick, and I am going to pick Bluey. Like, this is the show that is definitely a little bizarre, even for a kids show, like a little kid show. But like, there is a cleverness to it that 100% makes it worth the watch. Like, they do so many creative things on getting across teaching valuable life lessons. They freaking do a freezy game to talk about taking turns. They they talk about like controversial topics that are more controversial in Australia than America, but it's still interesting to talk about. Hell, they do freaking artistic wonders in most episodes. Like one where Bingo, one of the characters, has a dream that she's in space, and like they mirror it in both real life and in the dream, and it. All I can think of is freaking Mario and Luigi Dream Team with that. Like, imagine Bluey and Bingo going up against Antasma,
Yeah,
and Bluey
that'd
using
be
the
neat.
freaking magic xylophone to freeze them. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
definitely.
amazing. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with Bluey. Like, I will hold the Amazing World of Gumball and stuff like Craig of the Creek and to an extent Mighty Ducks on a pretty high pedestal. But yeah, if you want slice of life and you want comfort food, 100% you are gonna get into Bluey. Like, it isn't just stuff for parents or little kids. It's honestly for everyone in many regards, I feel.
Yeah, I can see why. That's definitely an interesting choice, and it's kind of interesting how Bluey took the internet by storm for a while. I think it almost became a Friendship is Magic level thing, but it didn't really happen. And on one hand, that's probably for the best because the content of the show, but I can see why it became popular because it kind of has the same vibe, I think, for a younger audience, but it has the same vibe that early season Friendship is Magic had in a way. I can
Yeah,
definitely
this is
see like the resemblance.
Yeah, this was backed by the same people who backed Meta Runner and for the most part Glitch Productions. So it definitely is one of those things I can get behind.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But like I said, that is a really, really interesting choice right there. Something that I really, really was not expecting, but that's still a really good choice. So let's see who's next. Math, what would your pick be?
So I brought the series up before, but I don't. I think that this series really epitomizes what the slice of life idea is. Hey Arnold.
I can see
Yes,
that.
yes.
It really epitomizes what it's like to just be. Well, it does the slightly more fantastical thing, but it really does epitomize what it's like to just be a kid in the real world. And I like when it's more grounded and real episodes that really emphasize that slice of life stuff. So Pigeon Man is obviously like high art. That's the one that everyone goes to for the Hey Arnold episode. My personal pick, and this just really shows this, was Helga's therapy episode.
Yes.
That episode.
Coach.
Do what?
Yeah, Helga on the couch.
They're on the
Yep.
coach.
Yeah, that episode was such a. That is so different than what a lot of animated series were doing at that time. You just have what is one of the series' semi-antagonists. You focus on her for half an hour, and it's just her and another person, the therapist in this case, in the same room, and that's basically it. Just giving some backstory on her, and it's so real and grounded, and anyone can see that. Anyone that's grown up with a shitty house upbringing can just relate to Helga in this episode, and it's really impressive that they just did the we're telling the story of how she was brought up, and they made it so relatable and so real. And that's what really makes this show so good, is that it feels like it can tap into anyone that watches it.
Yeah. Oh man, that definitely reminds me that Wuzzles exist, and that show also needs more love. Like, it's not
does.
as groundbreaking as something like Hey Arnold or Bluey, but okay, that's not true. It's absolutely groundbreaking. It put Disney Channel on the map. Let's be fair. But Yeah, I definitely think shows like that need more love and need more attention.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. But like I say, getting back to what Math said, I really have to agree with you there with how real it felt. That how basically how it felt so true to life, and you really feel so bad for Helga there. And it's a shame we never got that spinoff of the Patakis because that would have been fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Yeah. The Patakis is a Helga's family. Craig Bartlett, who I want to point out, Craig Bartlett, I believe, is the brother-in-law or son-in-law or cousin-in-law to Matt Groening.
Oh,
Oh,
hell yeah.
Yeah. He actually is related to Matt Groening by marriage or something like that. Not to him, but to anyway. But yeah,
nice.
like I was saying though, is that Craig Bartlett was going to do a spin-off about Helga's family. Which would have been way more adult, probably a little more adult than what they were looking for on Nickelodeon, come to think of it. So I don't know, he's probably going to try to pitch to an older network or something like that, but it would have been very, very fascinating. And of course, Hey Arnold, the movie, it's not too bad, but it's a shame it bombed when it did because it took us like 20 years for us to get the Jungle movie, although we did get it, so at least there's that.
And I found out it was terrible. I actually watched it. It was not great.
Ooh,
Really? Huh. I thought it was pretty
such
good,
a shame.
but anyway, like I said, that is a great choice right there, Matt. That is so good. Hey Arnold is a classic for a reason. It's one of Nickelodeon's all-time best, and man, it is just so well made. So yeah, that's a great choice right there. So let's see who's next. Stryker, what would your choice be for your favorite slice of life TV show?
Oh man, that's hard because like when I was a kid, I would watch a lot of Saturday morning shows. Ah, ooh. You know what? I'm gonna go with Doug as well. Actually,
Nice.
Huh.
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
I
That's
I actually think that show needs more love. To be honest.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
Alrighty, but yeah, I'm going with Doug because like I just had a lot of fun and just a lot of fun memories with that. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand how great a show it was.
Yeah, no, I could definitely. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's it.
I know, no, that's another great choice right there. I definitely can see why because it is such a well-made show. Again, really great right there. So let's see. Our last up is Shark. What would your pick be?
Well, one of them is gonna be the one you mentioned it but didn't talk about, Recess actually. Which
Nice.
Oh fuck, I
Nice.
forgot about that one
it was
too.
a really fun show. The whole concept that what happens with your friends and the school on recess. I like how well there were the groups like the King, the Miners, the Ashlish, the everyone like
Yeah,
it's a bit of a exaggeration of what you usually see on your school when you're little. Like the kid that sells stuff. It's this con man that doesn't want to be seen. Oh, the kid that spreads rumor is like this shady guy that appears intelligent. It's a fun concept, like in general. Like, yeah, it's your usual time at recess, but we make it a bit exaggerated, but not that much that it becomes a complete Looney Tunes show. If you get what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
Yep.
no, I hear what you said, and it also is funny, like I say, because that had a movie, and that was actually a really fun
Yeah,
movie, the Recess one, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
as a whole, I really enjoyed that because it really is a great show. It's one that I feel really, it really captured what it felt like to be a kid. It
Yeah.
really worked out, and the same creators also made a kind of quasi spin-off called Lloyd in Space, and that's a
Huh.
show that also was kind of underrated. It had some good moments,
Mhm.
and basically Patrick stars the giant Cyclops, and yeah, it is literally just Patrick's voice. So that was also
Yeah.
probably what I remember from it.
I also
But
like how it humanizes their, well, let's say antagonists like Miss Finster, because yeah, as the season progresses, there you see that no, they are not really adults that went through your phone. They are teachers with jobs that are just doing what they have to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the episode where Spinelli stays with Miss Finster. It was really fascinating because basically it shows that hey, your teachers are human too. You know.
That was actually
Yep.
one of my favorite episodes.
I can definitely
Nice.
see. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly like what Math said. You know, that it really makes it feel like, for example, the teachers basically they don't make the adults just stereotypical mean old villains because even with even like with the principal, you know, they actually give him really poignant moments, and I like that they
Yeah.
do that. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
but yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great choice
Another
right
show
there. Too.
I want to
sorry.
mention quickly
Go ahead,
is
sorry.
it's a not recent one. It's over 10 years old, but still, it's another show that I think did a very well job of capturing what being a kid was. It was Clarence, the Cartoon Network show.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice.
Oh, that
I
is
can see
another
why.
good one.
Yeah, like it was a bit crazier than research, but most of the episodes were like, oh, an episode at the zoo, an episode at a pizza place, or hell, there's a whole episode in like a McDonald's playground that has many fun gags, and the main character is a kid that I can see kids acting this way. So yeah, not gonna dwell too much into this show, but this is more like an honorable mention of a show that really captures that feeling of kids being kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I will say that I do like Clarence. I hold it in a regard that's not quite the same as something like Unikitty or a better example of kids being kids, Craig of the Creek. But yeah, I can kind of see why people still go to the show. It's fun. It has a bunch of interesting ideas. There are a few more. There are a few spots that involve context, which, but yeah. Oh, fun fact: this is they did a little nod to an Adult Swim show. I forget specifically what. It had this weird kid who looked like Phineas, except he had swept-back orange hair instead of like uptight palm tree hair. I forget what it's called, but yeah. But yeah, I definitely agree that Clarence is a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. You know, that is another great choice right there. You know, I wasn't necessarily like I say Clarence, but yeah, the more I think about it, that was a really fun show, and you know, I definitely could see why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, great choice. Great choices all around, really. It's always fun when we talk about stuff like that. So this now leads to the question with the Dragoness Scale, rather, where we rank, of
Yep.
course, the Dragons from 1 to 10, patent pending, of course. And this week we're talking about graffalun and lastimun. And I'll go first. For graffalun, because how little we see of her in her Dragoness form, not to mention that basically we don't get more of her Dragoness type of appearance in her human form like lastimun, she is going to get the lower score. With that being said, I am probably going to give her maybe a 7 out of 10, and that's just for character alone, because I always love that character with like the, you know, not domineering mother type, but like the, shall we say, one who really rules the house. Let's say it that way. I love that design. Voice is great, and the Dragoness design, as we see of her, is really good. And of course, the chibi moment with her and Zabuton definitely helps in her favor. That is a huge way of why she's getting that high of a score.
Yeah.
As for lastimun, she's gonna go, I think, maybe a point higher with an 8 out of 10. I really wanted to give her a 9 out of 10, and it was like really on the cusp of it, but I feel like if she was in like her Dragoness form a little bit more, she would have gotten it. Now, that being said, she was adorable. I love the fact that she has like the Dragoness elements of her, like the horns and the tail and the sharp fangs. That is great. The part with the little chibi form of her going roar, roar, roar is just adorable, and that definitely ties into it. And yeah, I really want to give her a 9 out of 10, but I couldn't. I'm sorry. Maybe it's like something with me personally, but regardless, it's still a really good score, and they're both really good Dragonesses. Will they have the best score of the Dragoness scale on Isekai Month? We can only speculate. But, Angron, what would your ranking be?
I'm gonna invert that. Like, I understand what you're saying about Graffalun and Lastimun both, Problem is though, like I said, this show is a very great example of doing more with less, and in that regard, I'm honestly gonna put graffalun higher at 8 out of 10. Yeah, again, she doesn't do too much, and to be perfectly honest, I would like for this show to do more with her if they ever decide to get that second season up. But to be perfectly honest, I honestly like what they did with her. They definitely gave her a pretty nice motherly personality, or at least as motherly as anime can be. Not to mention fiercely loyal, and she will definitely hunt you down if she gets corned. Also, yes, that one moment with the fishing line. Good lordy. That was the best. So she is getting an 8 out of 10, while lastimun is also getting a 7 out of 10. Like, I definitely like her as a main character. Like, her human form definitely reflects more of her character than her dragon form, which I'm not that big a fan of, not gonna lie. Compared to Graffalun, let's be honest. Like, from what I could see of Graffalun, it looks more unique. The white speaks to me a bit, and also, again, the GIF. But yeah,
Yes.
not to say lastimun doesn't have her good moments. In fact, she has more of them compared to Graffalun. But the human form paired with the fact her dragon form kind of looks off to me kind of holds her back a little bit. Not by much, hence the 7 out of 10 and not any lower. But yeah, those are going to be my rankings for them.
Okay, interesting. Definitely need to see kind of an inverse there, but like I say, definitely looking forward to seeing the other dragons as well. And yeah, I can understand where you're coming from because I feel like as the human, I feel like Graffalun has a partially better design, but yet lastimun is, of course, has the dragoness elements in them. But no, I definitely can see where you're
Definitely.
coming from with that one. Yep. So let's see
Yeah.
who's next. Math, what would your ranking be for them?
So for both of them, the dragon designs 10 out of 10 don't change a thing. They look fantastic. I love the
agree.
way Japan does 2D Western dragons. They always look so good.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
For the
Definitely.
characters themselves, Graffalun is an 8. Like I said, I love the strong-willed, I wear the pants in the family mother that Japan loves to do. That trope is always hilarious to me, and
Yes.
she is just a great style of that character. Lasty, I'm probably going to be the odd man out here because I've watched the entire series. And that's going to be the case for all of these going forward, by the way.
Ooh,
So I'm a
so-
little bit more connected with these characters. She is my favorite of the humanoid villagers. Zabuton still best girl.
Same.
Lasty is so adorable. I love her design, no matter what she looks like. That little stubby tail and her horns are just so adorable. I love her personality. She is just the sweetest character in the show. I love how she is so important to the village. I love how just they do everything with her and everything about her. There is not a bad thing that I can say about the character. She is my favorite. She is a 10.
Wow.
Dang.
Nice,
Did
nice. Wow.
I honestly expected you to go lower, but props.
Yeah, I could see why, especially because of the not just the design, but also the personality. I mean, she is definitely one of my favorite characters for this episode too, and probably the whole series when I actually get to check it all out. So yeah, I definitely can see why you give her a perfect score. But let's see, who's next? Stryker, what would you give them?
I think I'll have to agree with giving Grappaloon a 7 actually, but
Oh boy.
you know
Okay.
what? I think I might give Lastimun a 9.
Ooh, okay. Any
Dang.
particular reasons or?
Um, Not really. I just thought she was a fun character, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely could see why. Because again, like I said, they both are really fun and well made characters there. So let's see, Shark, what would you give them?
Okay, so this is interesting because I am giving them both the same score. I'm giving them both an 8, actually.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, because each one has a strength over the other and also have a weakness over the other. Let's start with the moms, and she was the less time on screen, but she did make a big impact in that little time she was. Well, for starters, she has the better dragon design, in my opinion. Like, the white really works on her. And yeah, and overall, and of course, everybody has mentioned it. The thing with the spider and the fishing rod, of course, gives her a lot.
Yes.
And as Lud mentioned it, her personality of being the boss of the house and like how she can be threatening, but it's for a good reason and all. Certainly, makes her stand out in again in the little time she got there.
Yeah.
So for
I
the
don't
I
know,
definitely can see it.
well, something like a little comment from Bod is well. They just they just went full dragon for a short moment, but I guess they become full dragons in more episodes. So that's a thing that at the same time does hurt, but doesn't hurt much their score. But well, now let's move to the girl. Yeah, she's a pretty cute design in both the dragon forms and her humanoid form. And I do like how they actually like, it's not just, we didn't just give her horns and tail to remind you she's a dragon. She has the whole thing like, she can't really properly keep her strength. She crosses the tomatoes, and when she sneezes, she burns everything around her. So that's a cute detail. They're still trying to. She still has other dragon things as a human, other than the horns and the tail. So that's nice. That's nice. She gets a decent amount of screen time compared to her mother, of course, and she gets cute moments like the roar moment everybody loves. The whole, like I mentioned, the whole working at the farm but ruining everything because she's a dragon. It's funny, kind of like Rennie in the Two Canes comics, basically.
I can kind of see
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely, and yeah, I'm not gonna say, they're wasting their dragon forms, because again, it's just this is their intro episode. They're definitely turning into dragons more often in later ones. So I like them both the same way at the end. They both get an 8.
I might bump
Yep.
lastimun up to an 8 as well.
Okay, all good, all good. So, like I say, definitely was interesting to review these characters in a way because definitely was something that, again, we haven't really done a lot of, hence why we're doing the Isekai theme month. And yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Our first episode of the Isekai theme month is over. If you have any questions, or if you want to see a version where the dragonesses stay as full dragonesses, you can feel free to email us at firydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/firydiscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Hit the bell icon and leave a comment. Any and all comments are appreciated. Next week, we'll be talking about the 2017 Restaurant in Another World episode, Curry Rice, aka Chicken Curry, for the next episode of our theme month of Isekai Month. Until then, take care.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Adios. See you all next week for part 2 of Isekai Month. See you then.